Okay, for this art project, what you need, the materials that you need are, you need to print off your bear image, and you want to make sure that it's, you know, a decent size. I would say maybe half-ish the size of your paper. A blank piece of paper, a pencil with an eraser, a pair of scissors, and a ruler. And if you can't find a ruler, you can use anything that has just like a flat, straight edge, even a piece of cardboard like this type of thing. Okay, so step one, you're going to cut out the bear and the star. And it takes a minute to cut it out correctly, so just, you know, take your time and do your best. If you don't want to cut it out and use it as a stencil, then you could try to free draw it, absolutely. But tracing it is a little bit easier. It's really up to you. So there's the bear, and then I'm going to cut out my star. The star, you could also just free draw it if you prefer to do that. Okay, so now you're done with your scissors. You're going to take your bear and you're going to put it in the middle of your paper. It doesn't have to be in the exact middle, but middle-ish. And you're just going to trace it with your pencil. And what I usually do is I just do a little bit at a time, and I use my left hand to hold down the stencil while I trace with my right hand. And like if I finish this leg, then I take this hand and I hold down the next section that I need to trace. And then you can go back and fix any little mistakes or whatever, but I think it looks pretty good. And then you're going to trace your star. And if your bear's in the middle, the star goes to the left and a little bit higher. Oh, I forgot to mention, my paper is horizontal. You can do yours vertically if you prefer, but I wanted mine to go horizontally so that it kind of looked like the flag. Okay, so once you have it in pencil, you're done with these stencils. Then you are going to take your ruler and you're going to pick a spot somewhere on the page. That's your kind of starting point, and it has to be somewhere along the border. So let's say I pick this dot down here. I pick this little spot. I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to go from this spot diagonally across the page. And then I'm going to take my ruler, put it on that same dot, and I'm going to go diagonally again. And I'm going to go straight across my bear. It's perfectly fine if the line goes through the bear. No problem. And you're going to keep going. So you start at that dot, and you do a diagonal line. You start at that dot, do a diagonal line. So it kind of looks like a starburst is sort of happening. Does that make sense? Great. Okay, then from there, we have to make opposing lines to make it a grid. So you're going to pick a new spot. So if you use the bottom, you're gonna pick a spot up here. If you use the side, you'll pick a spot on the other side. So I'm gonna pick a spot over here. Let's say I pick this spot right there. I'm gonna do the same thing, but I'm gonna go from the top down. So I do a diagonal line, a diagonal line, a diagonal line, oops. Maybe I'll do one more across. So you've created like a grid. Do you see how I use this top dot to make the lines go down and then that bottom dot to make the lines go up? Okay, then you're going to use your Sharpie and you're gonna outline all of your pencil lines. So you can totally use your ruler again and line it up so that your lines are kind of perfect. Or you can just carefully go over them. And you want to go over all of your pencil lines. So you're going to take a minute to do that. So I'll trace my lines and you trace your lines. And if you need more time, just pause the video and start it back up when you're done with this tracing section. Once you're done tracing with your Sharpie, then you're gonna go in with your eraser and you're gonna erase any visible pencil lines just to kind of tidy it up. So I'm gonna do that. Okay. For the next portion, we're gonna focus on warm versus cool colors, which we've talked about before. So we're gonna do our bear and our star in warm colors. So you can choose if you wanna use pastels, if you wanna use crayons, if you wanna use markers, it's totally up to you. But examples of warm colors are orange, red, yellow, even like a brown, like a warm brown would be great. These sort of colors. So you pick whatever color you want to start with. And remember, you're only coloring in the bear and the star. But there's a trick. So let's say I start with his head. You want to color it in pretty dark so it's nice and bright and warm. And you don't really see a lot of white. Now, if I want to use this color again, I can, but it can't be in the section that's touching, that's next door to the one I just did. So since I did orange here, I can't use orange here, but I could use orange here, or here, or here. So let's say I want to do this portion. And then maybe I want to switch to red. So I can use red anywhere in the bear because I haven't used it yet. So let's say I do this part. Ooh, it's kind of like a magenta-y red. That's pretty. And I'm being really careful to stay in my lines. Like, look at its little paw. Its little paw goes into the next square over, into the next section over. So that's why I stopped. I only did that one area. And for this little part of the paw, maybe I'll use yellow. So I'm just gonna keep going. That's not a very bright yellow. Let's pick a brighter one. I'm gonna keep going with my warm colored bear. And then I see that I ran into a problem. So right here, there's this tiny little section, this little white section, but it's touching orange, yellow, and pink. So I have to pick a different color to color in that little bit. So I'm gonna pick a different shade of red to use. In that little bit. And I'll use it over here in the star to tie it together. And then some orange. And then my bear is done. Looks pretty awesome, right? So now that we used warm colors and you understand the rule of you can't let, you have to use a different one if they're touching sections, you're gonna go back in and do the background in cool colors. So cool colors are any shade of blue, green, purple, turquoise, whatever you can find, gray, silver. These are all cool colors that remind you of like winter. And you're gonna go back in and do the same type of thing. So I'm gonna just keep coloring mine and you keep coloring yours. Now, if you wanted to do this with watercolor or paint, you absolutely can. I would recommend doing every other piece. So I would do like, say, this section, and I would let it dry, and then do this section up here. And then this one over here, I would kind of jump around so that when you come back to do like this one, since they're almost touching, this would be dry when you get to this one, so that it doesn't bleed colors. But you could definitely do this with markers or oil pastels if you wanted to. Or even colored pencils would be great. So my favorite part about this project is I love how once you get the colors down, the warm colors really kind of pop out over the cool colors, but also it's kind of like a little bit of a puzzle because you have to really think about where you're putting your colors down so that you don't accidentally put two next door to each other that are the same. Which I just realized I think I did here, but that's okay. I'll just leave it. Whoopsies. And I'm just getting down to my last little section. I'm gonna do it in green. And I'm done. Doesn't that look amazing? I can't wait to see what yours look like. Hope you guys had fun.